Hey! Hey! Hey, you! Get out of here. Get out of here. All right, thanks everybody for tuning into the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho. Today we'll be talking about Sunspot 2788, a new one to show up. The Sunspot number is at like 71 now or something like that. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux is at 110 solar flux units. Lewotolo volcano erupts in fairly spectacular fashion. And thanks to our new Twitter followers. Fantastic. First thing we're going to do is look at the sun here. It's the colorized magnetogram, courtesy of the SDO. And the new sunspot is this one down here, 2788. And we'll zoom in a little bit on the southern hemisphere as that's where the main activity is happening. This is the last one day of magnetism. And all of those regions remaining fairly stable here. And next thing we're going to show you is the most recent colorized magnetogram and intensitygram in still images. So just bear with me a minute. We are streaming live. It's twitch.tv/smAsho if you want to see our typical live streaming platform. We typically use Twitch because it is a fantastic live streaming platform. So there you go. There's the colorized magnetogram. Sunspot 2786, 85. There's 88. Actually over there. And there is 87. Looks like it may have degraded a little bit here. Here's the intensitygram. Let's make sure that's the most fresh one. And they've actually degraded a little bit there. At least 86 has, which is this one here. And it is the largest sunspot we've seen in years. And there's the new one. Looks like it's alpha class so far. And that one in the northern hemisphere, there we go, that's still there as well. So we're going to show you a whole bunch of other stuff here. Again, thanks to our latest Twitter followers. And I would also invite all of our viewers of the Daily Space Weather to check us out at smAshomash.com. You can find all of our social media links there, as well as links to our forum and our stores. Don't forget to use the promo code smAsho. Promo code smAsho, SMASHO, on all orders through Christmas to save 10%. Here's the Smash store. Are you safe yet? By the way, all things matter. I don't know if you were aware. And we would also invite you to Mansa, Make America Not Suck Again. Here's the smAsho store. It's mainly space-based stuff and branded stuff, such as our Smash Team shirt. As nothing says, don't run me over or shoot me like a blaze orange shirt, today's featured product is the orange Smash Team shirt. By the way, congratulations on surviving a global pandemic so far. And we're going to move on to cosmology. Oh, one last thing. Shout out to YouTube once again for remonetizing yesterday's live stream. So there you go. We did a 1 hour and 13-minute live stream yesterday. It was demonetized, and it's been remonetized. So if you haven't checked that out, go have a look there. If you enjoy the rest of the content, please press like and subscribe over on YouTube. Share with your friends and foes on social media. Share with your science noobs and science pros on social media. We've probably got something for everybody there. And don't forget to check out smashomash.org presents the Sun series. As we've changed around the homepage here, we've also got other links there. Again, thanks to all of our YouTube viewers, etc. Thanks for viewing the live premieres with us. And I do view the live premieres personally, as I would remind our viewers that I'm not only smAsho, but I'm also a client. And we are streaming live to Twitch once again. It's twitch.tv/smAsho. In my opinion, the ultimate live streaming platform so far. And we're going to do a quick cosmology segment today. And we typically do so as a regular thing here at the Smash News Network. Why? Because I'm spaced out and so are our viewers. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw a quantum dice. We're going to throw a quantum die here. It's a 1031-sided die to get the number 792. That's our random number of the day. By the way, these are the transient outbursts for Cygnus X3. And let's see what we find at entry 792 at the Neil Gorell Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory. It's a BL Lacertae object, which is a type of active galactic nucleus that has a full spectrum emission. And this is a very tight band one, actually, but it does have the full spectrum. That's what a BL Lacertae object is. It's 4C56.27. And let's see if we can find it on the Simbad and Aladdin light. These are the X-ray transients. Again, this is at the Neil Gorell's Swift X-ray Observatory. It's monitoring a lot of things all at the same time. So let's take a look at this visually. You just click on Simbad. And there you go. There's that active galactic nucleus. And we're going to actually view this in Aladdin light as well. And we'll zoom out here to show you where it is in relation to the galactic disk. And frankly, I have no idea. Let's look at it on the 2-mass. I think I did something wrong there. Hold on. Bear with me again. We are streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smAsho. There's the 2-mass. Which is infrared light, by the way. And we won't talk any more about that as we don't want the video to be too long. We've got more content to make today. We'll probably do a second live stream. And thanks to everybody who showed up and interacted yesterday at yesterday's live stream. It was quite fun. We talked about all kinds of random things, including theme songs to the Leave It to Beaver show and the Andy Griffith show. Let's get back to space data for our spaced out viewers. And we've seen a pretty consistent solar wind here. No big shifts going on in the solar wind density or speed, although we have seen the speed drop off here over the past 18 hours. Current solar wind speed around 350 kilometers a second. Solar wind density around 6 protons per cubic centimeter. The KP index currently at 2. That's a measurement of global geomagnetism for our new viewers. And next we're going to look at the Geospace Magnetosphere movie showing pressure based on the space weather modeling framework. And since that refresh, we'll let that play through. You should see a slight reduction here in pressure as the video goes on. And indeed you can see, especially in the bow shock region, which would be to the left of your screen. And that's 4 hours of data courtesy University of Michigan. Next, we're going to show you a still image of the ground magnetic perturbations. Coming a little closer to home, there's what's going on the ground right now. And I would animate it, but it's not been working for the past week or so. So we'll just move on. We don't see any proton strikes. Again, we would have been forecasting this as this channel forecasts coronal mass ejections long before anybody else. And if you weren't aware, go check our previous videos. We've also forecasted sunspots and all sorts of other magnetic activity and electron flux long before anybody else is capable of doing it. So tell your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros about the channel. Next, looking at the X-ray flux here, we've seen a series of C-class flares, and one is happening as we make the video. Once again, probably not luck, but instead divine providence. Now, I wanted to show you this, the deabsorption map, and this shows you This shows you a visualization of where X-ray flares will be striking. So we paused it here at around 1140. So 1140 we saw a C-class flare, and this is the way this equates to absorption in the ionosphere layer. So let me just let that play through just to give you a visualization of this. This will also show you things like radio blackouts from stronger flares. And probably right at the end you should see it actually happening as we make the video. Let's see. There you can see we are in the middle of a C-class flare right now. So that's where that's happening. It's over the southern Atlantic Ocean. Remember, folks, solar flares are photons and coronal mass ejections are primarily protons. I like to use in-the-sky.org. Check it out if you want to make yourself a star chart. And if you're up before dawn, you may see Venus and Mercury rising before the sun. Here's what's going on in the solar system. There's where things will be in a week. And no, I'm not frightened by this alignment. When Jupiter and Saturn align in our sky for the first time since the Middle Ages, people are going to be very scared and spooked about it. I don't know why they weren't scared and spooked about when Jupiter and Saturn aligned with reference to the sun, but let's move on. The ghost magnetometer, there's the 3-day chart for that. And we probably are already in the North Pole current sheet once again. Not sure exactly where that occurred. Here's the next pane, which is the top view eclipse plane field plot. More magnetic data. This is part of the National Sunspot Observatory. And the data is based on 51 ground-based magnetometers, as well as magnetometers on stereo A and stereo B at Lagrange point 5 and Lagrange point 4. Keep in mind the data is 1 hour and 11 minutes old and can change suddenly with no warning. The same way sunspots can suddenly appear with no warning. I think we are already in the North Pole current sheet, and if not, expected to happen soon, especially with the advent of new sunspots forming south of the equator. Here's a line of sight coronal hole plot. And you can see coronal holes extending all the way down to and past the solar equator on the left portion of that image. Here's the same data essentially, but this also shows you the solar magnetogram instead of the coronal holes, and the solar polar fields in green and red, north and south. Here is the coronal magnetic field plot. And it's looking quite chaotic. By the way, there is a significant possibility of coronal mass ejections going on now, as there is quite a bit of plasma filament in between Earth and Sun. Just to the northwest of Sunspot 2786 is the main location of that. Let's take a look at the electron flux. Right after I take a look at the life of the stream and the chat. By the way, thanks to everybody who's been tuning into our live streams. It's 1337 in. 1337. As the channel is leaked, which is probably why we have so few subscribers. Next, looking at charging hazards, and we don't see many. The main ones are north of the equator in the Central Pacific. Here's the 1-year chart of the electron flux. Here's the forecast, and we're expecting a dip in the electron flux, at least according to NOAA. Let me consider that for a moment. I would tend to agree. Again, keep in mind, if something like a coronal mass ejection happens, that can suddenly change. Here's the 3-day chart of the electron flux, and we're back into warning levels. Yesterday we reached to about 2,300 pulse flux units. No big deal. Here's a visualization of the total electron content forecast, and we see once again some anomalies here over North America, as well as over Antarctica. And some pretty high density electronic regions here over some portions of the planet. And for you new viewers, this will give you an idea of where GPS errors would be most likely to occur. Places like northern South America, the Central Pacific, as well as Southeast Asia. Here's just one slice of that. It's the Ionosphere Map. This is, by the way, courtesy of Australian Government Bureau Meteorology. And we see some sudden charge ups and charge downs there of the ionosphere. Looking a little bit anomalous here. Not a super big deal. We'll bring up the latest image. There's the latest image. Pardon the lateness, it's at 12:45 Universal Time. There was a major eruption producing a 50,000 foot ash plume, 15.2 kilometers, at Lewotolo, which is one of the Indonesian islands. And I'll just let these scroll to show you some still images. We'll also show you a short video. Some great imagery there of that stratospheric scale eruption. And it actually sent out clouds in two different directions there. So here's a short video. Check out that still image. That high altitude cloud there forming above the top of that ash plume. And we'll hit mute. Show you a little clip. And for those of you who like to see people running for their lives, here's some of that. Here's some more imagery. We saw a very dark ash plume there. Quite dark. And a great imagery of that. Let's see what else was erupting. Looks like a volcanic uptick overall. Kluchevskoye is producing a 23,000 foot ash plume on the Kamchatka Peninsula. Abiko, flight level 100, it's a 10,000 foot ash plume there. Flight level 050, Suwanosejima is producing a 5,000 foot ash plume. Sinabung, back on the list as it explodes, 10,000 foot ash plume there. Again, Lewotolo. Dakono, 7,000 foot ash plume there. Popocatépetl still on the list, 22,000 foot ash plume there. Fuego and Sangay both erupting, 15,000 and 20,000 foot ash plumes respectively. And while we're unable to detect eruptions at Sabancaya, please do not build a campsite on the lower slopes. Did I just fail to show that stuff? All right, I apologize. There's Lewotolo and its 50,000 foot ash plume as clouds start to nucleate at the top of the plume of ash. Next, earthquakes. And thanks for leaving comments. Be stoic. Let me just address those real quick. I have not heard the reference from Cosmic Rays Maximum Guy. Was it a reference to me? I'd be very interested. Okay, I'd be slightly interested, maybe, depending on how ridiculous of a comment it was. Here are the earthquakes of the past 24, and we still see a lull in earthquakes, folks. If you're in an earthquake-prone zone, and I would say especially these areas, have an earthquake plan. Attempt to be an asset, not a liability, when buildings start to crumble. And perhaps know which buildings may start to crumble. If the ones outside of your front door do, if you can't afford to create a bug-out bag, at least know what may happen. If you've got an old, beat-up building right outside of your front door, especially if you live in a city, like an old city, those are the zones where I would be prepared. As we're seeing an earthquake drought here over an extended period of time, let's run up the list. It looks like the largest of the past 24 was only a little over, I think, a 5.1 magnitude quake. One deep quake there so far. Also, Vanuatu saw a deep quake. A 4.6 magnitude at 178 kilometers. Largest of the past 24 was a deep quake at Vanuatu. A 5.5 at 111.8 kilometers depth. Let's hope that's not a foreshock. If that happened at the surface, it would be more like a 6 magnitude quake. And let's check out cosmic rays, coincidentally. Yes, cosmic rays. So here's the Apatity neutron monitor as well as Barentsburg. And you can see a downtick over the past 30 days at Apatity. Barentsburg, flat over the past 30 days there. Next we'll go farther south to Athens, Greece, to see what's going on at the Athens cosmic ray monitor. And you can see that is flat over the past 30 days as well. Next we'll look at Mexico City, going even farther south. Flat over the past 30 days there, although an uptick over the past 2 weeks at Mexico City. And finally we'll look at Oulu, Finland, and DOMC Antarctica. So there you can see Oulu, quite flat over the past 30 days at Oulu, Finland, and there's DOMC Antarctica, also flat over the past 30 days. We don't show DOMB Antarctica because it hasn't been sending data. I like to use the links to cosmic ray data. Links to cosmic ray data. If you simply look that up, you'll see a bunch of links that contain relevant cosmic ray data. Next, we're going to look at the pressure maps on windy.com. Get that on the screen and get me off the screen. And we're going to forward this. We're going to move this forward in the GFS forecast. I'm going to slowly creep it forward until we get to tomorrow around noon. And there's where we expect pressure cells to be at noon tomorrow. A low pressure cell will be practically directly above my head, according to the GFS forecast. There's the Euro forecast, looking pretty similar. Strong low pressure system there south of the Aleutian Islands, as well as a very high pressure system over Central Asia. Next, looking at nullschool.net at the 250 hectopascal winds to show us what's going on with the jet streams. There are the jet streams of the Western world. And these have actually changed since I did show prep significantly, which is kind of odd. Here are the jet streams of the Eastern world. A very concentrated jet stream in the Western Pacific, with winds over 200 miles per hour, making for fast flights if you're going from Asia across the Pacific to the west coast of the US, for example. Fast flights will ensue. Next, looking at lightningmaps.org, I like to know what's going on with lightning, so I check out lightningmaps.org when I hear thunder. Check it out, we just saw some lonely lightning strikes out there in the middle of the Pacific all by themselves. By the way, lightning does strike twice in the same place. Don't assume that a spot of a lightning strike is a safe place to be, as things like iron deposits would make it obvious why lightning can and does indeed strike the same spot. And we got another strike here in the Congo. Please leave a comment if you're viewing from Bambari. There's thunder rolling in. It looks pretty unpopulated. Somehow I doubt we have any viewers from Bambari. And there's the GOES 16 lightning mapper, pretty uneventful there. US Doppler radars next. A large system there centered on Louisiana. And I'm guessing it's going to be moving pretty quickly. Here's what's going on in the cloud layer. It's too dark to show you the visible satellite at this time of day. A lot of low clouds there over the North Atlantic once again, as well as the Gulf of Mexico. And here's a water vapor map. And we're going to go back and forth to show you the differences between the way clouds are and the way the water vapor is. Another little meteorological tutorial here for you. Water vapor, clouds. Water vapor, clouds. And we use the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite shortwave radiation map when it's too dark to see the clouds. The satellites are still detecting them using the 3.2 nanometer wavelength. And we'll actually zoom in on Louisiana here, as the strongest weather is over that spot today. Shout out to our Louisianan viewers. And it's going to take its good old time here, as this dry air is not really moving very quickly. And it's actually rotating counterclockwise here. You can see this counterclockwise rotation. Not the normal thing you would see with dry mass of air. And it probably has to do with a low pressure system underneath it. And by the way, thanks Smash Team for tuning in. Whether you viewed live or Memorex, we've got bonus features, and it's our HelioViewer movies. So we're going to close things out with a bunch of views of the sun. So let's get to it. Here's a zoomed out view, including the LASCO C2. Not a lot going on there, but again, there are a lot of filamentary systems, especially in this region right here. That area right there to the northwest of Sunspot 2786 has got quite a bit of plasma. And again, we don't need solar flares to eject it. Here's a close-up in 304 angstroms, along with the Earth scale. You can see a little prominence down there, just to the southeast of Sunspot 2788, which will be the latest sunspot named today. And we've got some great views of that prominence as well. It did not result in a coronal mass ejection. It splashed back down onto the chromosphere. What a great view. First the North Pole, and there's a North Polar region. Some filaments in the northeast. Here it is in 171 angstroms. My personal favorite wavelength. And next, the big show, which is the southern portion of the sun, which is where most of the activity's been going on for the past couple of weeks here. Great view of that prominence there on the left of your screen. We'll put that back on loop. Again, that did not result in a coronal mass ejection. That all splashed back down. And we'll have to make another video today. By the way, before we close things out, thanks to our patrons, a true source of funding for the content, please consider becoming a patron for all kinds of perks. We recommend joining at the $3 per month level. There are 9 tiers currently. We will reduce that by the end of the year. Thanks to our patrons. Again, the true source of funding and the associate producers of the content, patreon.com/smashomash. Here's the southern hemisphere in 171 angstroms, dominated by sunspot 2785 and 2786, as 2788 has just formed, and an older sunspot setting over there on the west. Thanks once again for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink it. If you do, don't drive. Seriously, don't drive. It's Sunday. You ever get behind a Sunday driver? You ever see people who slow down on purpose just because you're behind them? And then they speed up if you stop tailgating? Yeah, don't tailgate. As I am a professional driver. Have you seen our pro driving tips? Make sure you follow hashtag pro driving tips on Instagram. We'll see you next time. May that solar wind be at your back.